I had everything planned perfectly. The candles were arranged just right on our dining table. The expensive ones Ethan loved, the ones that smelled like sandalwood and vanilla. His favorite wine was breathing on the counter. I'd spent 3 hours making his favorite meal from scratch, the pasta dish his mother used to make before she passed away. Everything was perfect for our 5th anniversary. 5 years. Half a decade of marriage to Ethan Caldwell. The man who'd promised me forever on a beach in California with tears in his eyes and a ring that cost more than my car. 5 years of building a life together, of inside jokes and lazy Sunday mornings and plans for the future we were going to have. I left work 2 hours early to set everything up. My boss hadn't been thrilled, but I didn't care. This was important. Ethan had been distant lately, working late, distracted when he was home, always on his phone. I told myself it was just stress from his new position at his father's company. That it would pass. That tonight would remind him of what we had. I was setting out the plates when I heard it. A sound from upstairs. A moan. Not pain, I knew that sound. I made that sound myself plenty of times. My hands froze on the wine glass I was holding. No, I was hearing things. Ethan wasn't even home yet. His car wasn't in the driveway. He'd texted me an hour ago, saying he'd be late, that he had a meeting running over, that he'd try to make it home by 7. Another sound. Louder this time. Definitely from our bedroom. The wine glass slipped from my fingers and shattered on the tile floor. I didn't even look down at it. My feet were already moving, carrying me toward the stairs, even though every instinct was screaming at me to run the other direction, to grab my keys and leave, to not see whatever I was about to see. I climbed the stairs in a daze. Each step felt like walking through water. Heavy, slow, inevitable. Our bedroom door was half open. I could hear them clearly now. 2 voices. One I knew better than my own. One I'd heard my entire life. Ethan's voice, low and rough the way it got when he was turned on. God, I've been thinking about this all day. And then another voice responding, breathless and eager. Yeah? Tell me what you were thinking. Marcus, my brother. My older brother who I'd looked up to my entire childhood. Who'd been my best man at our wedding. Who came over for dinner every Sunday and acted like the supportive, loving brother he'd always been. I pushed the door open. They didn't notice me at first. Too lost in each other. My husband. My brother. In the bed I shared with Ethan every night. Tangled together in a way that made it very clear this wasn't their first time. How long? My voice came out steady. Eerily calm. Like I was asking about the weather instead of watching my entire world implode. They froze. Scrambled apart. Ethan's face went white as a sheet. Adrian, Jesus. Adrian, I can explain. How? Long. I was still standing in the doorway. Still calm. Still not quite processing what I was seeing. Because if I processed it, if I let myself actually feel what this meant, I would shatter into 1,000 pieces right here on this floor. Marcus sat up. Had the audacity to look me in the eye. Didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. 3 years, he said. 3 years. 3 years they've been doing this. 3 years of lies. 3 years of Sunday dinners where Marcus sat across from me and smiled and acted like the brother who'd never hurt me while he was fucking my husband behind my back. 3 years of Ethan coming home late, and I believed him when he said it was work. 3 years of being the biggest fool in the world. Get out. The words came out quiet. Too quiet. I tried again louder. Get out of my house. Ethan was pulling on his pants, stumbling over his words. Adrian, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. I laughed. Actually laughed, and it sounded wrong even to my own ears. Hysterical. Broken. It's not what I think. I just walked in on you fucking my brother in our bed on our anniversary. What exactly do you think I think this is? It just happened. It didn't mean anything. 3 years, Ethan. Marcus said 3 years. That's our entire marriage. That's not just happened. That's a choice. Every single day, for 3 years, you chose to do this. Marcus was getting dressed now, too, and the casual way he was doing it. Like this was any other day, like he'd gotten dressed in my bedroom 1,000 times before, which he probably had, made something crack inside my chest. Adrian, you have to understand. Marcus started. I don't have to understand anything. I want you out. Both of you. Now. Technically, Ethan said, and his voice had that edge it got when he was about to say something cruel. "This is my house. My name on the deed. So if anyone's leaving, it's you." And there it was. The reminder that even the home I lived in wasn't really mine. That everything I thought was ours was actually his. That I'd given up my apartment when we got married, my independence, my life, all for a man who'd been cheating on me since the day we said our vows. Fine. I turned and walked away before they could see my hand start shaking. Before the calm facade I was barely holding on could crack. "I'll pack my things and I'll leave. You two can have your happy fucking life together." I made it to the guest room. Not our bedroom. I couldn't go back in there, couldn't see that bed again without seeing them in it, before the shaking got so bad I had to sit down. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and stared at my contact list. Who could I call? My parents? They'd always loved Marcus more. Their golden child, the successful older son who could do no wrong. If I called them and told them what happened, they'd find a way to make it my fault. To say I drove Ethan to it somehow. To defend Marcus because they always defended Marcus. My friends? Most of our friends are couple friends. Ethan's friend from college who I'd gotten to know through him. They'd hear his version first. They'd believe him. I had nobody. I was scrolling through my contacts aimlessly when my phone rang. The name that popped up made me pause. Julian Caldwell. Ethan's father. I almost didn't answer. What would I even say? But something made me hit accept. Adrian. Julian's voice was controlled as always. Professional. The voice of a man who'd built a billion-dollar empire through sheer force of will. Ethan just called me. Said you two had a fight and you left. Are you somewhere safe? A fight. That's what Ethan had called it. A fight. Like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the problem. I'm fine. I managed to get out, and my voice sounded surprisingly steady even though my entire body was shaking. You don't sound fine. Where are you? I'm still at the house. In the guest room. I'm packing. I don't know where to go. There was a pause. Then, come to my place. I'm texting you the address now. Don't argue with me. Just come. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone as the text came through with an address in the expensive part of town where I knew Julian lived. I should say no. Should find a hotel. Should maintain some dignity instead of running to my father-in-law. Ex-father-in-law. I guess like a child who couldn't handle his own problems. But I was so tired. So completely hollowed out. And I had nowhere else to go. I threw clothes into a bag without really looking at what I was grabbing. Toiletries. My laptop. The few things that were actually mine and not Ethan's. It took me 20 minutes to pack up the life I'd built here, and that should have told me something about how little of it was actually mine to begin with. Ethan was waiting in the hallway when I came out with my bag. "Adrian, please, can we just talk about this?" "Talk about what?" "About how you've been sleeping with my brother for 3 years. About how you made me feel crazy for thinking something was wrong when I was right the whole time. About how you just reminded me that this house is yours and I have no claim to anything." I pushed past him. "There's nothing to talk about. Where are you going? Does it matter?" "Of course it matters. You're my husband." "No." I turned to look at him. Really look at him. At this man I'd loved for 5 years. This man I'd built my entire life around. And I felt nothing but contempt. "I'm not your husband anymore. You made sure of that when you chose my brother over me. We're done, Ethan. I'll have divorce papers sent to you as soon as I find a lawyer. You can't just watch me." I walked out, got in my car, drove away from the only home I'd known for 5 years. And I didn't look back. Julian's building was exactly what I expected. Sleek, modern, expensive. The kind of place where the doorman wore a suit nicer than anything I owned. He must have been expecting me, because he just nodded when I gave my name and directed me to the penthouse elevator. The elevator ride felt like it took forever. I caught sight of my reflection in the mirrored walls and barely recognized myself. My eyes were red, even though I hadn't let myself cry yet. My hair was a mess. I was wearing the nice shirt I'd put on for our anniversary dinner, and the irony of that made me want to laugh or scream or both. The elevator opened directly into Julian's penthouse, and he was waiting there. I'd seen Julian plenty of times over the years. At family dinners, at company events, at our wedding. But I'd never really looked at him. Not the way I was looking at him now. He was 43, 20 years older than me, and he wore those years like armor. Silver threaded through his dark hair. lines around his eyes that suggested he'd lived a full life and had the scars to prove it. He was tall, broad-shouldered, intimidating in a way that had nothing to do with physical size and everything to do with presence. This was a man who commanded rooms without trying, who made billion-dollar decisions before breakfast, who looked at me now with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. The penthouse was beautiful, minimalist, expensive, cold, like Julian himself, I'd always thought. But there was something about the way he moved through the space, making coffee without asking if I wanted any, gesturing me toward the couch, that felt almost domestic, comfortable in a way I wasn't expecting. He handed me a cup of coffee and sat in the chair across from me. Not the couch, maintaining professional distance. Always proper with Julian. "Tell me what happened. Didn't Ethan tell you?" "Ethan told me you had a fight over something trivial and you overreacted." "I'm asking you for the truth." I took a sip of coffee. It was perfect, exactly how I took it, even though I'd never told Julian how I liked my coffee. He just noticed, apparently, over 5 years of family dinners. I came home early for our anniversary. I'd planned this whole dinner. Candles, his favorite wine, the works. My voice was still steady. Weirdly steady. I heard noises from upstairs. Went to investigate. Found Ethan in bed with Marcus. My brother. They've been having an affair for 3 years. Julian's expression didn't change. Didn't show surprise or shock. Just went very, very still in a way that was somehow more terrifying than if he'd yelled. 3 years, he repeated. 3 years. Our entire marriage. The whole fucking time. I laughed again, that same broken sound. And the best part? When I told him to leave, Ethan reminded me the house is in his name. So I'm the one who had to leave. I'm the one who had nowhere to go. Julian set down his coffee cup with deliberate precision. When he spoke, his voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. "I apologize on behalf of my son. What he did is unforgivable. It's not your fault. No, but he's my responsibility. I raised him, and clearly, I failed to instill even basic decency." Julian's jaw was tight. "What do you need?" The question caught me off guard. "What? What do you need right now? A lawyer? A place to stay? Money to get you through the next few months? Tell me what you need, and I'll make it happen. Why would you help me? I'm nobody to you. Just your son's soon-to-be ex-husband." Something flickered in Julian's eyes. Something I couldn't quite name. "You're the man my son made vows to. The man who's been nothing but kind and respectful for 5 years. The man who deserves far better than the treatment you've received from my family." He leaned forward slightly. "And you're not nobody, Adrian. You've never been nobody." There was something in his tone that made my breath catch. Something that felt like more than just sympathy. "I have a guest room," Julian continued. "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow, I'll have my lawyers draw up divorce papers. Ethan won't fight it. I'll make sure of that. I can't impose on you. You're not imposing. You're accepting help from someone who should have intervened a long time ago." His expression softened almost imperceptibly. I knew something was wrong. I saw how Ethan treated you, how he took you for granted. I should have said something. I didn't. That's on me. But I'm saying something now. Stay. Rest. We'll deal with everything else tomorrow. I should have argued more. Should have insisted on finding a hotel. Should have maintained some shred of dignity. Instead, I just nodded. Julian showed me to the guest room. Pristine, impersonal, with a bathroom attached, and everything I could possibly need. He left me alone with a quiet, "Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands. They'd finally stopped shaking. And then, alone in that perfect guest room in my ex-father-in-law's penthouse, I finally let myself cry. I cried for the marriage I thought I had. For the 5 years I'd wasted on someone who never loved me the way I loved him. For the brother who betrayed me without a second thought. For the family who I knew would take Marcus's side because they always took Marcus's side. I cried until I had nothing left. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and something smelled incredible. I followed the smell to the kitchen and found Julian at the stove, cooking. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans, and a simple black shirt, and it was so different from the suits I always saw him in that I just stood there staring. He noticed me and gestured to the coffee pot. "Help yourself." Breakfast will be ready in 5 minutes. You cook. I live alone. The alternative is starving or hiring a chef, and I prefer privacy. He plated eggs and toast with the same precise movements he probably used in boardrooms. Sit. Eat. We have a long day ahead. Long day. Lawyers at 10. Real estate agent at 2. You'll need your own place eventually. And at 4, we're meeting with Ethan and your brother to discuss divorce terms. Julian, you don't have to do all this. Stop. He set the plate in front of me. Stop saying I don't have to help. I'm helping because it's the right thing to do. And because... He paused, something complicated crossing his face. Because you deserve someone in your corner. And right now, that someone is me. The lawyers were sharks. Julian's lawyers, specifically. They laid out terms that made my head spin. Ethan would pay Adrian's living expenses for 2 years. I keep my car, my personal belongings, and receive a settlement of $200,000. This is too much, I protested. It's what you're owed, Julian said coldly. And what Ethan can afford. Trust me. What if he fights it? He won't. Julian's smile was sharp. Because if he does, I'll pull all family funding from his division. He'll be bankrupt in 6 months. He'll sign. The meeting at 4 was brutal. Ethan sat across from me, looking miserable and angry, and like he wanted to say something, but kept getting silenced by Julian's presence. Marcus was there too, and he had the audacity to look defiant. Like he was the victim in all this. This settlement is excessive, Marcus said, looking at the papers. You're bleeding Ethan dry over a mistake. Julian's voice could have frozen hell. A 3-year affair isn't a mistake. It's a deliberate choice, made every single day for 3 years. And now your brother-in-law, sorry, ex-brother-in-law, is facing the consequences of those choices. You don't understand. Ethan and I, we have something real. What you have, Julian cut him off, is a betrayal of someone who trusted you both. What you have is the destruction of a marriage and a family relationship. What you have is something you built on lies and deception. Don't call it real. It's an insult to people who actually build relationships on honesty. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but Julian's expression made him close it again. Sign the papers, Ethan. Julian ordered his son. Ethan signed. His hand was shaking, but he signed. Just like that, 5 years of marriage ended with ink on paper. Julian drove me back to the penthouse in silence. I should have felt something. Relief, grief, anger. I just felt numb. Thank you, I said when we were back inside. For everything. The lawyers, the settlement, just being there. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. You barely know me, and you've done more for me in 24 hours than my own family has done in my entire life. Then your family is full of fools. Julian moved toward the kitchen. Can I get you anything? Water? Something stronger. I'm fine. I watched him move through the space, and something clicked in my mind. Something I'd noticed over the years, but never let myself think about. The way Julian looked at me sometimes when he thought I wasn't paying attention. At family dinners, his eyes would linger just a second too long. He'd find excuses to talk to me at company events. He'd remembered how I took my coffee when even Ethan had never bothered to learn. Julian wanted me. The realization settled over me like cold water. And with it came an idea. A terrible, perfect idea. Ethan had betrayed me with my brother. Had destroyed our marriage. Had made me feel worthless and small and like I had no power. But I had power now. I could see it in the way Julian looked at me, in the way his breath caught when I got too close, in the way he'd been so careful to maintain distance, like he was afraid of what might happen if he didn't. Two could play the game Ethan and Marcus had been playing. If they could betray me, I could do something equally devastating. I could seduce Julian. The thought should have shocked me, should have felt wrong or inappropriate or insane. Instead, it felt like taking back control. Like revenge. Like power. Julian, I said carefully, can I ask you something? He turned from the kitchen, glass of whiskey in hand. Of course. You've been very kind to me. More than I had any right to expect. I moved closer, watching his body language carefully. Why? I told you. You deserve better than. That's not what I'm asking. I took another step closer. close enough now that I could see his pupils dilate, see the tension in his jaw. I'm asking why you specifically are helping me, why you called me last night, why you've gone so far out of your way for your son's ex-husband. Adrian, I've noticed things over the years. Julian, the way you look at me sometimes, the way you always find excuses to talk to me at family gatherings, the way you remember how I take my coffee. I was directly in front of him now, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his body. You want me, don't you? Julian's expression went carefully blank. That's an inappropriate thing to say. Is it? Because I think we both know it's true. I tilted my head back to look at him. I want to hear you say it. This isn't. You're hurt and vulnerable and not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. I put my hand on his chest, felt his heart racing under my palm. Ethan chose my brother. He destroyed our marriage. He made me feel like I wasn't enough. I looked directly into Julian's eyes. And I'm done being the good one. Done being loyal while everyone else breaks the rules. So I'm going to ask you again. Do you want me? Julian's control was visibly cracking. His hands were clenched at his sides. His breathing had changed. Why are you asking me this? Because I want revenge. I want to hurt Ethan the way he hurt me. I want to take something from him the way he took everything from me. My hand moved up to his neck. And I think you want me. I think you have for a long time. So tell me I'm wrong, and I'll back off. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll pretend this conversation never happened. The silence stretched between us. I can't tell you that, Julian said finally, his voice rough. Because I be lying? Then don't fight it. I pulled his head down toward mine. Stop being noble. Stop trying to protect me from myself. And just take what you want. What we both want. Adrian, this is insane. I don't care. I'm done being sane. Being good got me nowhere. Being loyal got me betrayed. I pressed closer. I want this. I want you. And I want Ethan to know what it feels like to lose something precious. Something in Julian finally snapped. He kissed me like a man who'd been starving for years and finally got permission to feast. His hands were in my hair, on my waist, everywhere at once. It was hard and desperate and exactly what I needed. We barely made it to his bedroom, and I made sure to show Julian exactly what Ethan had been too stupid to appreciate. Afterward, lying in his bed with my body still trembling and Julian's arm around me, I should have felt guilty, should have felt like I'd made a terrible mistake. Instead, I felt powerful. We shouldn't have done that, Julian said, staring at the ceiling. Why not? Because you're hurt. Because I'm 20 years older than you. Because you're my son's ex-husband, and this is completely inappropriate on every level. You didn't seem to think it was inappropriate 5 minutes ago. I propped myself up to look at him. And I'm not some helpless victim you took advantage of, Julian. I knew exactly what I was doing. I wanted this. You're using me to get back at Ethan. So what if I am? I traced patterns on his chest. You wanted me. You've wanted me for years. And now you have me. Does it really matter why I initiated it? Julian was quiet for a long moment. Then, this changes everything. I know. If Ethan finds out. Good. That's the whole point. I kissed him softly. He took my brother. I'm taking his father. Seems fair to me. This is insane. Completely. But I'm done playing by the rules when everyone else breaks them. I settled against his chest. So what happens now? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want this to be? I thought about it. About revenge and power and the way Julian's hands had fell on my body. About the way he'd looked at me like I was something precious instead of something disposable. I want to keep doing this. I want to make Ethan see what he threw away. I want him to suffer the way he made me suffer. I looked up at Julian, and maybe we both get something we want in the process. You're playing a dangerous game. Maybe, but I'm tired of being the one who gets played. I kissed him again. So are you in? Or are you going to suddenly develop a conscience? Julian pulled me closer, his eyes dark with something that looked like resignation and desire mixed together. I'm in. God help us both, but I'm in. Good. I settled against him with a satisfaction I hadn't felt in years. Then let's give them something to really talk about. I fell asleep in Julian's arms, and for the first time since catching Ethan with Marcus, I felt like maybe I had some control over my life again. The next few days were a blur. Julian went to work during the day, and I stayed in the penthouse trying to figure out my life. I'd taken a leave of absence from my job. Couldn't face the questions yet. Couldn't pretend everything was fine when my world had imploded. My phone was constantly blowing up with messages. From Ethan, apologizing and begging me to reconsider. From Marcus, defending himself and claiming I was overreacting. From my mother, asking why I was causing drama and telling me to work it out with Ethan. I blocked them all. Julian came home each evening and we'd have dinner together. Sometimes we talked about everything and nothing, carefully dancing around the elephant in the room. Sometimes we didn't talk at all, just existed in the same space with a comfort that felt impossible given the circumstances. And every night, I ended up at his bed. It should have felt wrong. Should have felt like I was using him, or he was using me, or we were both just using each other to fill a void. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like coming home. A week after the divorce papers were signed, I was making coffee in Julian's kitchen when someone knocked on the penthouse door. Julian was in the shower, getting ready for work. I hesitated, then went to answer it. Ethan stood on the other side. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I need to talk to you. Please. Just 5 minutes." "There's nothing to talk about." "Adrian, please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But it's over now. Marcus and we ended it. I realized what I lost, and I want to fix this. I want us to fix this." I laughed. I actually laughed in his face. "You want to fix this? After 3 years of cheating? After humiliating me? After reminding me that I have no claim to anything in the life we built?" I was angry. "I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did. You meant every word. And you know what? You were right. I didn't have a claim to any of it. Our house, our life, our marriage, it was all yours. I was just living in it. I started to close the door. But I'm done now. I'm done begging for scraps of affection from someone who never valued me. Is this about my father?" Ethan's eyes were wild. "Are you staying with him? Is that why you won't talk to me? This has nothing to do with Julian." "Bullshit. You're staying in his penthouse. He stopped, stared at me, at the shirt I was wearing. One of Julian's shirts that I'd thrown on after my shower last night. "Oh my God, you're sleeping with him. You're fucking my father." "Get out, Ethan. You're disgusting. He's twice your age. He's my father. How could you? How could I?" My voice rose. "How could you? You fucked my brother for 3 years. You betrayed me with my own family. Don't you dare stand there and judge me for finding comfort with someone who actually treats me like I matter. He's using you. He's just doing this to punish me. Is he?" Julian's voice cut through from behind me. He was standing in the hallway, fully dressed for work, looking at his son with an expression of absolute contempt. "Or am I doing this because I've wanted Adrian for 5 years, and I finally have the chance to show him what it's like to be with someone who values him?" Ethan's face went white. You wanted him? Well, I was married to him. I respected your marriage. I never acted on it, never even hinted at it. But yes, I wanted him, and I watched you take him for granted every single day. Watched you treat him like an accessory instead of partner. Watched you destroy something precious because you were too selfish and stupid to see its value. This is sick. What's sick? Julian interrupted, his voice like ice. Is a man who cheats on his husband for 3 years and then has the audacity to be offended when that husband moves on. What's sick is betraying someone with their own brother. What's sick is you standing here acting like the victim when you're the one who destroyed your marriage. He's your son's husband, ex-husband. Because of you, you ended that marriage the moment you climbed into bed with Adrian's brother. Julian moved to stand beside me, his presence solid and supporting. And now I'm asking you to leave. You're not welcome here. I can't believe this. My own father. Your own father is deeply disappointed in you, in your choices, in your character, or lack thereof. Julian's expression was stone. Now leave, before I have security remove you. Ethan left, but not before shooting me a look full of hatred that made my skin crawl. Julian closed the door and turned to me. Are you okay? He knows. Everyone's going to know. Is that a problem? I don't know. Maybe? Your son thinks we're disgusting. My family is going to lose their minds. People are going to talk. Let them talk. Julian pulled me into his arms. Adrian, I meant what I said. I'm not ashamed of this. Of us. Of whatever this is. But if you're not ready for people to know, if you want to keep this quiet. No. I pulled back to look at him. No, I don't want to hide. I'm tired of hiding. Tired of being ashamed of things that aren't my fault. Ethan betrayed me, not the other way around. And if I want to be with you, that's nobody's business but ours. You want to be with me? Yeah, I do. Is that crazy? Completely. Julian smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Made him look younger, softer. I want to be with you too. We were still figuring out what being together meant when my family called an emergency meeting. My mother left 7 voicemails demanding I come to their house immediately. My father sent texts that were just barely civil. Marcus sent messages that made it clear Ethan had told him everything and he was disgusted by my perverse relationship. I didn't want to go. Wanted to ignore them all and just move forward with my life. But Julian convinced me that facing them might give me closure. So we went together. My parents' house looked the same as always. The same house I'd grown up in, where I'd celebrated birthdays and holidays and brought Ethan home for the first time. Walking through that door with Julian felt surreal. My entire family was there. Parents, siblings, even my grandmother. All sitting in the living room looking at me with expressions ranging from disappointment to disgust. Marcus was there too, sitting next to Ethan like they were a united front. Adrian, my mother started, her voice tight. We need to talk about your behavior. My behavior? Your relationship with Ethan's father. It's inappropriate. It's wrong. And it needs to stop. I laughed. I couldn't help it. My relationship is inappropriate? Are you serious right now? You're sleeping with a man twice your age. A man who's your ex-husband's father. It's disgusting. But Mark is sleeping with my husband for 3 years. That's fine. I looked around the room. That's acceptable behavior in this family. Marcus made a mistake, my father started. A 3-year mistake. And nobody in this room seems to have a problem with it. But me finding happiness with someone who actually treats me well, that's where you draw the line. It's different. How? How is it different? Because Marcus is family, my mother said. We protect family. I'm family too. My voice cracked. I'm your son, but you're protecting the son who betrayed me instead of the son who was betrayed. We're not choosing sides. Yes, you are. You chose the moment you called this meeting to lecture me instead of Marcus. You chose when you invited Ethan here like he's still part of this family. You chose when you decided my relationship was the problem instead of the affair that destroyed my marriage. My grandmother, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Adrian, honey, we just want what's best for you. No, you don't. You want what's easiest for you. What causes the least drama? Well, let's you pretend Marcus didn't do anything wrong. I looked at Julian, standing beside me like a pillar of support. But I'm done pretending. I'm done letting this family treat me like my feelings don't matter. Marcus betrayed me. Ethan betrayed me. And now you're all betraying me by acting like I'm the one who did something wrong. If you continue this relationship, my father said coldly, you're not welcome in this family anymore. The words should have hurt, should have devastated me. Instead, I felt relief. Okay, I said simply. Okay. I choose Julian. I choose being with someone who values me over being with a family who doesn't. I took Julian's hand. I'm done here. We walked out together. In the car, Julian looked at me. Are you sure about this? You just lost your entire family. I didn't lose them. I never really had them. I squeezed his hand. But I have you. If you'll have me. Always, Julian said, and kissed me like a promise. The next few months were hard. My family made good on their threat to cut me off. My mother blocked my number. My siblings stopped responding to messages. Even my grandmother, who I'd thought might understand, sent a letter saying she was disappointed in my choices. The gossip was brutal. People whispered, stared, judged. I lost friends who decided they didn't want to be associated with the scandal. But I also gained things. A relationship with Julian that grew stronger every day. A job at one of Julian's partner companies. Not nepotism. I earned it, but he made the introduction. A life that was actually mine instead of an extension of someone else's. And slowly I healed. Ethan tried a few more times to win me back. Sent flowers. Wrote letters. Showed up at my new apartment. Julian handled it. Restraining order. Legal threats. The kind of protective fury that made it very clear nobody fucked with what was his. Marcus tried to contact me exactly once. A long email about how I'd ruined his relationship with Ethan and destroyed the family. I deleted it without responding. 6 months after the divorce, Julian and I went public. Not in a big way, just started showing up together at events, holding hands in public, posting pictures on social media. The judgment was immediate and harsh, but there was also support for people who knew our story, who knew what Ethan had done, who understood that sometimes healing looks different than people expect. And a year after everything fell apart, something unexpected happened. Marcus showed up at our apartment. I almost didn't let him in, but Julian, surprisingly, thought I should hear him out. Marcus looked terrible, older, tired, defeated. What do you want? I asked coldly. To apologize. His voice was rough, and to tell you that you were right. About everything. Okay. Ethan and I broke up. Turns out, when the forbidden thrill was gone, and it was just us, we had nothing. He was using me to hurt you. I was using him because I was jealous of you. It was all a lie. I'm sorry to hear that, I said and meant it. Not because I wanted Marcus to be happy, but because I wasn't capable of hating him anymore. It took too much energy. Mom and Dad won't talk to me anymore. They found out the affair started before your divorce, that we'd been together the whole time you were married. They're ashamed of me. He laughed bitterly. I lost everything. My family, my relationship, their respect. And you were right. I deserve it. Yes, you do. I came to ask if you'd consider forgiving me. Not now, maybe, but someday. I looked at this man who used to be my brother, who I'd looked up to my whole childhood, who destroyed that relationship through his own selfish choices. I don't forgive you, I said honestly. Maybe someday I will, but not today, not even soon. What you did, what you both did, that kind of betrayal doesn't just disappear because you're sorry now that you've faced consequences. Marcus nodded, like he'd expected that answer. I understand. But Marcus? I hope you figure out who you are when you're not trying to take what belongs to someone else. Because that person, whoever that is, might actually be worth knowing. This version? The one who destroyed his own brother's marriage because he was jealous? I don't know that person, and I don't want to. That's fair. He stood up to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. And I'm glad you found someone who treats you better than Ethan did, even if it's unconventional. After he left, Julian pulled me into his arms. You okay? Yeah, I am. And I meant it. He doesn't have power over me anymore. None of them do. Good. Julian kissed my temple. Because you deserve to be free of all of that. But freedom came with a price I hadn't anticipated. 2 weeks after Marcus's visit, Julian came home from work looking tense in a way I'd never seen before. What's wrong? I asked immediately. We need to talk. He sat down heavily on the couch. The board called an emergency meeting today. My stomach dropped. About us. About us. He ran a hand through his hair. Someone leaked photos to the press. Us at restaurants, at my office, at charity events. They're spinning it as a scandal. Billionaire CEO in inappropriate relationship with son's ex-husband. The board is concerned about the company's image. What do they say? They gave me an ultimatum. End the relationship, or they'll call for a vote of no confidence. His jaw was tight. They're threatening to remove me as CEO. I felt like I'd been punched. Julian, you built that company. You can't lose it because of me. I'm not losing anything. I'm making a choice. What choice? You. I choose you. He pulled me onto his lap, his arms tight around me. That company means nothing if I don't have you. I'll walk away from all of it before I walk away from you. You can't do that. Your legacy, your life's work, means nothing compared to you. His eyes were fierce. Adrian, I spent 20 years building that empire, and I'd burn it all down tomorrow if it meant keeping you. So the board can vote. They can remove me. They can do whatever they want. I'm not leaving you. There has to be another way. There is. He kissed me softly. I fight back. I call the bluff. I make them understand that what we have is real and not some scandal they can threaten me over. Ow! The annual shareholders meeting is in 3 days. I'm going to stand up in front of everyone, shareholders, board members, media, and I'm going to tell them the truth. About Ethan's affair. About how we got together. About why I'm not ashamed of loving you. His hand cupped my face. And then I'm going to dare them to vote me out for choosing happiness over their outdated sense of propriety. That's incredibly risky. I know, but I'm tired of hiding. Tired of people acting like what we have is wrong, when the only wrong thing was how we were both treated by people who should have loved us. He pressed his forehead to mine. I love you, Adrian, and I want the whole world to know it. Consequences be damned. I love you too. The words came easily now, naturally, and if they vote you out, we'll figure it out together. Together, he agreed. The shareholders' meeting was exactly as intimidating as I'd imagined. Hundreds of people in a massive conference hall, board members on stage, media in the back with cameras, everyone waiting to hear Julian's presentation about the company's quarterly earnings. I sat in the audience, anonymous among the crowd, watching as Julian took the stage. He went through the earnings presentation with his usual precision. Numbers, projections, growth strategies. The board looked satisfied. The shareholders looked pleased. And then Julian put down his notes and looked directly at the camera. Before we move to questions, I'd like to address something that's been circulating in the media. My personal relationship with Adrian Hayes. The room went silent. 2 years ago, my son ended his marriage to Adrian through infidelity. He had a 3-year affair that destroyed what should have been a lifelong partnership. Adrian was left with nothing. No home, no family support, no one to turn to. Julian's voice was steady, strong. I offered him help, as anyone with basic human decency would. But somewhere in the process of helping him rebuild his life, I fell in love with him. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I know what you're all thinking, that it's inappropriate, that the age difference matters, that this is a scandal that reflects poorly on this company. And I'm here to tell you that I don't care. He leaned forward, his intensity filling the room. I spent 20 years building this company. I've dedicated my life to making it successful, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. But I'm not going to sacrifice my personal happiness for optics. I'm not going to pretend I'm ashamed of loving someone who makes me better than I've ever been. More murmurs, some shocked, some approving. The board has threatened to remove me if I don't end this relationship. They've called it a distraction, a scandal, something that damages our brand. Julian's smile was sharp. But I'm not the one who damaged anything. My son did that when he betrayed his husband. Adrian did nothing wrong except survive betrayal and find happiness afterward. And I did nothing wrong except fall in love with someone who deserves to be loved. He paused, letting that sink in. So here's why I'm telling all of you. I'm not ending my relationship. I'm not hiding it. I'm not apologizing for it. And if the board wants to vote me out for that, then so be it. I'll walk away from this company I built before I walk away from the man I love. His eyes found mine in the crowd. Because at the end of the day, companies can be rebuilt. Profits can be regained. But finding someone who makes you want to be better, that's rare. And I'm not giving that up for anything. The room was completely silent. Then someone started clapping. One person, then another, then more, until half the room was applauding and the board members were looking at each other in confusion. One of the board members, Harrison Wells, a man in his 70s who I knew had been married to his husband for 40 years, stood up. Julian's right, he said. His personal life is his business, not ours. He's been an exemplary CEO for 2 decades. His relationship doesn't change that. And if we're so concerned about scandal, perhaps we should focus on the actual scandal, his son's behavior, rather than punishing Julian for finding happiness. Another board member stood, then another. By the end, only 3 of the 15 board members still supported the vote of no confidence. It failed, spectacularly. Julian remained CEO, and we remained together. That night, back at our apartment, because I'd officially moved in 2 months ago, Julian pulled me into his arms. You risked everything for me today, I said. No, I risked everything for us. There's a difference. He kissed me deeply, and I'd do it again, every single time. You're insane, you know that. Completely. But I'm your kind of insane. Yeah, you are. We stood there in our living room, holding each other, and I thought about how far we'd come. From a broken man who showed up at Julian's door with nowhere else to go to this. A real relationship built on actual love instead of convenience or revenge. It hadn't been easy. We'd faced judgment, scandal, family rejection, professional consequences. But we'd faced it together. And that made all the difference. What are you thinking about? Julian asked. How Ethan told me the house was his. How he reminded me I had no claim to our life together. How he made me feel like I was nothing. You were never nothing. I know that now. Because of you. I pulled back to look at him. You showed me what it's like to be valued, to be chosen, to matter to someone. You've always mattered. To me. From the moment I met you. His thumb traced my cheekbone. I just wish I'd had the courage to act on it sooner. To save you from years of being undervalued. Then we wouldn't be here. And I kind of like where we are. Yeah. Yeah. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And I kissed him back with everything I had. Because this was worth fighting for. Worth the scandal. Worth the judgment. Worth losing my entire family. Worth everything. 6 months later, Julian proposed. We were at the penthouse, just a quiet evening at home. No grand gesture. No audience. Just him getting down on one knee with a ring and asking if I'd spend the rest of my life with him. I said yes without hesitation. The wedding was small. Just close friends. Julian's elderly mother, who'd taken one look at me and declared I was the best thing to ever happen to her son. A few colleagues who'd become genuine friends. No family. Not mine anyway. They made their choice, and I'd made mine. Ethan heard about the wedding, apparently. Sent a message through Julian's assistant saying he hoped we'd be miserable together. We deleted it without responding. Because we weren't miserable. We were happy. Genuinely. Completely happy in a way I'd never been with Ethan. On our wedding night. Lying in bed wearing matching rings, Julian pulled me close. Do you regret any of it? He asked. Everything you lost to be here. I thought about my family who'd chosen Marcus over me. About the marriage that had been built on lies. About the life I'd thought I wanted that turned out to be a prison. No, I said honestly. I don't regret losing things that were never really mine to begin with. Ethan never really loved me. My family never really valued me. That house was never really my home. I kissed him softly. But this? You? This is real. This is mine. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. Promise. Promise. And he kept that promise. Through everything that came after, the continued judgment from people who didn't understand, the occasional attempt from my family to reconnect when they realized I wasn't coming back, the moments of doubt that crept in late at night. Julian was there. Steady. Solid. Choosing me every single day the way Ethan never had. 2 years after our wedding, I ran into Ethan at a coffee shop. It was awkward. Inevitable in a city like ours, but still awkward. He looked older. Tired. There was a sadness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Adrian, he said. You look good. Thanks. You too. A lie, but a polite one. I heard you and my dad got married. Congratulations. Thank you. There was a long pause. Then I'm sorry. For everything. I know I said it before, but I mean it now. I was an idiot. I threw away something precious because I was too stupid to see its value until it was gone. I appreciate the apology. Really. But it doesn't change anything. I know. I just needed you to know that I regret it. Every day, I regret what I did to you. I believe you. But Ethan, I don't forgive you. Not because I'm holding a grudge, but because I've moved on. I'm happy now. And forgiving you feels like going backward when all I want to do is move forward. He nodded. I understand. I hope he makes you happy. My dad. I hope he gives you everything I couldn't. He does, I said simply. He really does. Ethan left after that, and I never saw him again. I went home to Julian and told him about the encounter. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no pain. Just nothing. I smiled, because he doesn't matter anymore. He's just someone I used to know. Someone from a life I don't live anymore. Good. Julian pulled me onto his lap. Because this is your life now. Our life. And I plan to spend every day of it making sure you never doubt your worth again. You already do that. Then I'll keep doing it. Forever. Forever sounds good. And it was 5 years after everything fell apart. I could finally say I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Not in the marriage I thought I wanted. Not in the family I was born into. Not in the life I'd planned. But in something better. Something real. Something I'd chosen instead of something that was chosen for me. I was happy. Genuinely, completely, unconditionally happy. And it had all started with the worst day of my life. Coming home early on my anniversary to find my husband with my brother. Because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing. Sometimes losing everything makes room for something better. Sometimes the person you think you can't live without turns out to be the person you're better off without. And sometimes the inappropriate relationship that everyone judges turns out to be the healthiest relationship you've ever had. My husband chose my brother, so I chose his father. And that choice, that scandalous, inappropriate, completely unexpected choice, gave me everything I'd ever wanted but didn't know I needed. A partner who valued me, a love that was real, a life that was actually mine. And I wouldn't change a single thing.